The preseason is over, and it's time to take a final look at the best picks for Week 1 in NFL Survivor Pools. We'll discuss who to target and who to avoid coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee.
And I'm Michael Wiley, and we're the Fantasy Football Consultants. Eric, so good to be back. How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. NFL football is right around the corner, and I'm excited to get into it. And there is nothing more exciting and nerve-wracking than playing in NFL Survivor Pools.
Yeah, folks, just a quick reminder for those. I'm sure you all know these rules, but just hit on them real quick. Survival pool means you can pick one team each week. You have to pick one team each week. If that team wins, you move on to the next week. If they lose, you're out. And you can only pick a single team once during the season. So it makes it important to be strategic about who you pick.
If you've never done NFL Survivor, you've got to do it. It is a lot of fun. We have run our own Survivor pool for almost every year that we've been in existence, but we're not going to run it this year. So we encourage everyone to go to covers.com. That's COVERS.com. They are running a free to enter $10,000 Survivor pool. You can play along with us in that pool and wish everyone luck. We need to give them some advice, Michael. So we've got 5 games that we think are ones you should be strongly considering for Week 1 for NFL Survivor. And they are all home teams are favored. Cincinnati, 9.5-point favorites against New England. 2 5.5-point favorite teams, Buffalo and Seattle over Arizona and Denver, respectively. The 4.5-point favorites, the Chicago Bears against Tennessee, are putting your faith in the New Orleans Saints against the Carolina Panthers. So, Michael, let's take these 2 4.5-point favorites. Which one do you like more if you were going to put your Survivor life on the line in Week 1?
Well, before we do that, I'm going to put in a quick plug for us. Please support the show. Go in, smash the like button, share your thoughts in the comment section. And if you haven't yet, please hit the red subscribe button. Eric, really torn on these games. As much as I think Tennessee can be the worst team this year and the team to pick on, I think Carolina is going to have a slower start. And so I think I would lean ever so slightly to New Orleans, even though this is an in-conference game. Carolina, who maybe does have some promise with Dave Canales, who I think is going to help Bryce Young out. I think that they will be on the upswing. It's just not going to happen in Week 1. And the Saints, I think, are a little bit more stable. And so even though I think the Bears are even more on the upswing, I think it's going to take a few weeks. So that's kind of what I'm leaning there. How are you feeling?
In Survivor, you pick against a team, and I think Carolina is the team to pick against. They went up, Michael. They used to be the longest of long shots to win the Super Bowl at 300-1. They have moved up all the way to the second of the longest, the long shots to win it. I know you've expressed some concerns about Bryce Young. I want to give you your take. We've seen him a little bit in preseason. We've seen him with Canales. He's not going to have Jonathan Brooks, his running back. They're going to have Chuba Hubbard take his spot and Miles Sanders backing him up. But what do you think of Bryce Young? Is he scary to pick against in Week 1?
Well, my biggest fear with Bryce Young is he's just not going to have the longevity. I just think he's too small. I think he is a talent. They have been really good about protecting him, but that's also putting him in a spot where he can't overcome some of the challenges that they have with the offensive line. And they're consistently in a situation, partly because of their defense, where they're, always behind. And that's just not particularly great for a team that's trying to protect their quarterback, understandably trying to protect their quarterback. So, did he have flashes of brilliance in college for Alabama? You bet he did. And so I think he could have, with the right offense and the right approach, I think he could have some moments. But if you're not likely to have a winning season this year, why would you want to put your quarterback at risk just so you can win 5 games or 6 games instead of 3 or 4? It doesn't make sense. You should build for the future. Again, I think, I actually, I kind of like, I kind of like the coaching change. I just don't know that that is going to have enough of an impact. And just to real quickly touch on the Bears, and that Tennessee game. I mean, Tennessee's got a new coach, Callahan out of the Bengals, Levis, who's shown moments of strength, but this Tennessee team is so bad. So I think Chicago wins this game, depending on, the leagues that you're in. Maybe it's worth looking at this because not a ton of future value, but some for the Bears. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, where New Orleans almost has none. I mean, in week 7 and week 9, they host Denver and Carolina. That's pretty far out there. So I understand if you want to pick New Orleans. I like that you have Carolina throwing in the towel for the season before the season starts. But all right, I think we're in agreement there with New Orleans. Let's talk about the 5.5 point favorite teams.
Let's start with your Seattle Seahawks. Go ahead and say a word here.
Well, hang on.
Oh, yeah, put on your jacket.
No, wait a minute. It's getting cold here.
Probably 100 degrees
early in the season, and it's
100 degrees here.
It's getting cold, and okay. Well, I'm putting the this stuff out, and the reason I'm putting this out is one of the biggest reasons to pick the Seahawks. This may be the best chance for me to put out all this gear, Michael. This may very well be the Seattle Seahawks' best game all year. So they're at home. They're facing a Denver team that everyone thinks is going to be Bo Nix. I don't think we've got the official announcement out of Sean Payton. These coaches, you know how you can tell when these coaches are lying? Their mouth are moving in the press conference. So everyone's trying to be secretive, but I think we're going to get a rookie. I want to get your take right now, though, on that. What do you think about Bo Nix? Does this make you more or less excited to put your survivor life on Seattle with Bo Nix?
No, so Bo Nix, hey, he played up in that part of the country for his long college career, or at least, portion of it. And obviously had a lot of success. And I do think he is going to have a very promising NFL career. And, even though it wasn't a great year last year for Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos, I do think that he is a quarterback whisperer. And so I think that can prove great things for Denver, who has, oftentimes been a strong defensive team. I think their defense is supposed to be okay this year. But Seattle has the 12th man. They usually use it well, other than against, I think, who is it that they can't seem to beat in their division?
Almost everybody. The Niners for sure.
Yeah. But they got a new coach, and even though I think Pete Carroll was great, it was time, and I think that they chose wisely. I really like the move to Mike McDonald. I like defensive-minded coaches. He did obviously a fantastic job with the Ravens. While Geno Smith, go ahead.
They needed help on that side of the ball. The problem with Seattle last year, which they were not a bad team, they were 9-8. So you might go, well, why am I saying that this is one of their best matches? They have a very hard schedule, folks. That's the problem. But they could not get off the field, the defense, because they just ran against them. So they used an early pick to bolster that defensive line. They have a defensive-minded head coach. So I all think that that's good news. I do have some bad news for those wanting to pick Seattle this week. Their best pass rusher, Uchenna or Nwosu, is almost surely going to be out. They said 2 to 6 weeks, and 2 weeks would be right on the start of the season. So probably not going to have him. And that, I'm not worried about the Seahawks offense. I just need to see the Seahawks defense play better.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. But I actually feel pretty good about this game. Like you say, Seattle kind of has to win this game if they're going to have it's going to be very impactful to their playoff chances. I think they are a bubble team. this year. So they're going to make sure they come out strong. I think Denver, on the other hand, is not a bubble team.
Let's talk a little bit about that Buffalo Arizona game. I think that Buffalo's the superior team. There is no question about that. But they lost some people in the secondary. They've lost two key wide receivers, so it's just a new look Buffalo team. So that just gives me a little bit of pause just with Buffalo before I even start talking about Arizona. What do you think about the Buffalo team?
Yeah, I actually think they still, despite the changes to the defensive backfield, I think they still have one of the strongest defenses in the league, which should be the strength they ride on. And obviously, with Josh Allen at the helm, even with Diggs gone, Dalton Kincaid's going to be in his second year. They still have Cook, who I think has been coming on stronger. McDermott's on the hot seat, I think. They were supposed to be a Super Bowl team and haven't gotten there yet. And so they need to win this game. They're, like you say, certainly a better team than the Cardinals, and this game is at home. If it was in the winter, I would feel even better about Buffalo's chances. But I think Buffalo has some nice future value. And so I think, given some of the things I think you're going to probably say here in a minute about the Cardinals, this one makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. So again, you pick against a team as much as you pick for a team in NFL Survivor, even more. And Arizona is not the team that I want to pick against this year. I think that they will be improved. And I think it starts with their quarterback, Kyler Murray. They began the season 1-8 without Kyler Murray. He comes back and they're 3-5 with wins against Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and Philadelphia. Three solid teams. And then you add another season of Trey McBride, who I think maybe even better than Dalton Kincaid. And they add Marvin Harrison, who's just an unbelievably talented wide receiver in the draft. So I don't know. I can't believe 1 year later, I'm saying Arizona is scary.
Yeah, and it's like you say, it's because of Kyler Murray, right? I mean, he really can do so much with his legs. And I think we all thought coming back from that injury, he wouldn't be allowed to, and he was, which is, I think, his ability to make a difference. Gannon, who was, I think, the defensive coordinator for the Eagles when they were actually good on the defensive side of the ball, should be working really hard to make the Cardinals a good defensive team as well. And so, I just am a big fan of coaches that know how to scheme. And so, that also adds to my nervous factor. I'll be proven wrong. The Buffalo Bills will come out and win this game by 2 or 3 touchdowns, I guess. But Buffalo, again, has some future value. I think I'm with you. This one game makes me a little bit nervous.
It is a little delayed for the gimme games for Buffalo. Week 16 and 18 is, I don't know why they got New England so late. If you're comparing them to Seattle, no question about it. Seattle has less future value than Buffalo. So, you might as well go with Seattle. All right. So sounds like we're all in agreement so far. So we've got advancing from the 4.5 bracket is New Orleans, and from the 5.5 bracket, Seattle. So let's talk about what will clearly be the chalk pick. The Cincinnati Bengals, 9.5-point favorites over New England. Michael, what do you think about this game?
Well, when we were last talking, we were a little bit nervous about Joe Burrow being 100% healthy and Jamar Chase signing a contract. And I think both of those questions have been answered. Cincinnati, they're not only cream of the crop in the NFL, they are also a strong defense. And who's the longest odds this year in the NFL for the Super Bowl?
That would be New England.
New England.
300 to 1. If you have $100 to burn, Michael, you can win $30,000.
Don't make that bet. Save your $100. See, even if it's a $2 bet you were thinking about, save your $2. With naming Jacoby Brissett as their starter for week 1, I think that they're basically announcing that they're not playing this season for the playoffs, which, hey, I think that's the smart thing to do. I think that Derek May could be a great quarterback in the NFL. Some people don't think that, but I actually think he's got some real potential. But why throw him out there with a bad offensive line against a pretty good defense in a game that probably is not going to go your way? Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just put another team that you're counting out in the preseason for the New England joins
There's
Carolina?
2 teams so far that I've already said are done already before week 1 has happened. Hey, there could be 100 injuries on every team, and still these teams probably won't make the playoffs. And that's just how the ebb and flow of the NFL works. So I think this is the lock game. With Jacoby Brissett in there, who and you and I talked about this a little before, so I'm still in your thunder, but he's probably not gonna do anything to really hurt the team significantly. But on the reverse side, he's not going to do anything that is going to, give this team a chance to win this game. Maybe to look close for a quarter or so as the Bengals get up to speed. But I think, this. I don't feel great about the 9.5 points. I mean, this game could be it's probably going to be a 10-point game, but it might, be the kind of game that's 14 points going into the end of the game, and then New England gets a garbage touchdown at the end to make it a 7-point game. So I don't feel great about the spread, but I feel pretty good about Cincinnati getting a win in week 1. And hey, you and I both know, got to get a win in week 1 and survive.
I thought you were going to say anything can happen in the NFL, which, I would agree with both of those statements. Michael, listen, we're going to do a little test here. I only want you to say yes or no. No explanation, just yes or no, because I'm with you. I'm not prosecuting you or anything. You're on the witness stand. But I'm going to tell you some facts that people might say that is concerning about Cincinnati, okay? And you tell me whether it concerns you, yes or no. The loss of wide receiver Tyler Boyd.
No.
The loss of Joe Mixon, replacing him with the tandem of Zach Moss and Chase Brown.
No.
The loss for this game of their first-round draft pick, Miles Murphy, on the defensive line.
A little.
Okay. So I kind of agree with what you said, and I worry about everything with Survivor. Look, New England's is also out. I mean, first of all, they don't have their first-round draft pick because they're choosing to bench him, and probably their best wide receiver, Kendrick Bourne, last year, is out and not going to be playing in this game. So I definitely think, I mean, as the line would indicate, but I would agree with the lines that Cincinnati is the safest pick. You do have the negatives. There's such a high pick popularity, and they've got real future value. It's interesting. Cincinnati was 9-8, but they got the last place schedule because they technically finished last in that great division that they're in. So very soon, week 3, they host Washington. Week 4, they're at Carolina. Just causes a little concern. But the biggest thing that I said, Michael, and I want to hear your backup on this, is I need to know that Joe Burrow is healthy. And I've looked at all the news, and you know what? What you're looking for is an NFL coach to tell you that he's healthy. Not because he says it, you can't believe it. But here's what they did. They cut their third string quarterback. And Jake Browning, their second string quarterback, has had bad ribs. So the fact that they cut their third string quarterback tells me that they're very comfortable with their top 2 quarterbacks.
Guys, that's the kind of nuggets you only get on shows like Fantasy Football Consultants. Good job, Eric. Love that.
Oh, wow. So it comes down to our final pick. Mine is between New Orleans and Cincinnati. If you're in one of those massive pools where beyond a shadow of a doubt it's going to go all 18 weeks, I am okay with you, and you're feeling a little frisky and you're feeling a little risky, go with New Orleans. You have my permission. But I was thinking about it, Michael, in NFL strategy and pools. The way I think of week 1 is we're all trying to shoot at a target. There's some targets that are far away, and there's some targets that are close. Usually the higher spreads are the ones that are closer. And which should we take a shot at? Because if we miss, we're out. And the instinct is, well, maybe you take a closer one, but you say, wait a minute, you're going to have problems later and you got to do longer ones. But here's the trick in the NFL in week 1. You're squinting. In week 1, you're squinting. And each week you get more information. You can open your eyes more and more. So you can have clearer vision to take those long shots. And sometimes what we think is a long shot in week 1, all of a sudden it's an easier game to pick earlier. For all those reasons, I am going to suggest people pick the Cincinnati Bengals. It was not easy, but because I hate picking a high pick popularity, and I hate giving up a lot of future value, but I don't mind it in week 1. Let's get some info and then regroup for week 2.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. Week 1 is just a week where you do not want to put yourself at risk. I would argue even in one of those bigger leagues, you might feel the same. Yeah, I think I'll say the same thing you did about the Saints for the Seahawks. Hey, you're in one of those bigger ones, or one where you pick 2 teams. Yeah, go ahead, add the Seahawks. I think they're going to get it done this week.
Oh, it's
But
like
I'm going with the Bengals.
It's a bizarre world, folks. Michael is talking up the Seahawks, and I'm not. Oh my goodness, it's going to be a crazy 2024. So we have a lot of content for you guys about strategy in playing NFL Survivor. You've got to check out those videos. They're really important. We'll put them on the screen. And until next time, take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.